Hello, good night. Welcome to our live webinar. Tonight, Marisol Chavarría is going to help us talking about nutrition at home. Welcome, Marisol.
Hi,
Maris
thank you for the invitation.
Marisol is a nutritionist with a master in pediatric nutrition. Her clinical practice was done at Denver Children's Hospital. She is owner of NutriKids, and it is a pediatric nutrition clinic. So thank you so much, Marisol, to join us tonight.
Thank you for the invitation. Hello, good night. I am very happy and excited to be able to share this space with you. Thank you for the invitation. My idea with today's exposition is to talk about how we can positively reinforce the nutrition of the whole family now that our children are at home. We as parents can improve the relationship that our children have with food by being able to create a model of trust, and with this improving the eating habits of our children. So we're going to begin. Perfect. So healthy eating will provide the body with a variety of foods in sufficient quantities for the proper growth, development, and maintenance. When we talk about childhood, it's a very important stage because it involves a rapid growth and development stage. Also, during childhood, we're gonna store some nutrients that we can use in the adolescence or in the adulthood. In children, the weight is not the only indicator of health, because we can have children that can in the growth charts can show that they have a proper weight for his height or for his age, but it's a child that is not eating correctly. They can have a nutrition deficiency that we're gonna see next. So it is important not only to consider the weight, but to go a little bit more and investigate a little bit more about the nutrients that their body are receiving. It's a very important stage to give some nutritional education to create healthy habits for the life and to prevent the appearance of chronic diseases. The nutrition would directly influence in the growth, the physical and the mental development, and the prevalence of diseases. That it's so important, the nutrition in early years. Preschool and school stages are critical periods of growth and development. And inadequate nutritional state can determine the appearances of diseases and also affect the cognitive ability. When we talk about growth, in the first 12 months of life, the child weight will triple. After the first year, that is very common, the growth rate is going to be slower, but with this, and it will involve a decrease in the appetite, but the need of vitamins and minerals in this stage will increase. So that is why nutrition is so important in these early years. Children will require from 3 to 5 times more of iron, zinc, calcium per unit of body weight than us, the adults. And what happens if the child is having a nutrition deficiency? For example, zinc, the growth can be stopped. They can have a loss in sense of smell and taste, and this can also involve in children that doesn't want to eat because they have no smell, no taste, so they don't have appetite. When there's a deficiency in iron, the academic performance is going to be affected. They can be children that are very irritable. They can have chronic fatigue or a delayed psychomotor development. With a deficiency in calcium, we can observe a delayed puberty and weak bones and teeth formation. So now that we're going to talk a little bit more about the feeding styles of us parents in our house. These are the 4 feeding styles that we're going to talk. And we may use all of the 4 styles, but there's always one that is predominant. It's one that we can identify a little bit more, or the actions that we can see when we're going to talk, that they can relate a little bit more of what is happening in our house and what is our feeding style. Our style can also be an extension of how we were raised. For example, if we were raised by a parent that was very authoritarian, we can become a parent that is very permissive in the feeding style. So it is important to recognize all of the feeding styles that there are, and to know if we're going to be, or we're showing some of characteristics of one feeding style in particular, we can try to revert or go towards the proactive feeding style that we're gonna talk during all of these feeding styles. So the first one is the authoritarian, and this feeding style is very characteristic of showing rewards if we eat, if the child eats. It also shows restrictions or to some foods. There's pressure to eat, and they also use threats. We're gonna show some examples, but what are the consequences in children that have parents that are in this feeding style, in the authoritarian? Children will have a low sensitivity to hunger, to satiety, and the preferences of the child that the child has. This feeding style can have a correlation with overweight and obesity. And children with parents that have this feeding style can show that they have a reduced intake of fruits and vegetables. These are some examples of the characteristics of this particular feeding style, the authoritarian. You can eat dessert if you finish the vegetables. This is a very common. If you don't finish everything we serve you, you won't be able to eat dessert. Or you cannot get up from the table until you have eaten everything. So we're using other foods as a reward, or we're threatening the child. If he doesn't eat, he's gonna have a punishment or something will occur. And also the caloric foods are not bought, or they are hidden in the house. Some studies show that 85% of parents try to get their children to eat more at mealtime by using these rewards with other foods. Also, from a 50 to 60% of parents will ask their children to clean their plate. 40% ask them to eat more, even if the child has already stated that he is satisfied. So we are not respecting, when we're using this feeding style, we're not respecting the satiety that the children will manifest when they are eating and when they don't want to eat more. What are the consequences? The food awards are going to take priority. So this dessert or the ice cream or the cookies or what we are offering so that children can eat the vegetables or the fruits or the healthy food, these food awards are going to take priority for the child. Also, the child will begin to eat to please their parents. So the eating preferences will begin to change. It is achieved that the child eats. So we achieve that he's eating, but he's not really enjoying his food or actually feeding himself. And the emotional hunger can appear. We're not eating because we're hungry, we're eating to please someone else, or we're eating because we're sad, or we're eating because we're bored, and that's what we call the emotional hunger. This is the other feeding style that it's a little bit contrary to the one that we just spoke, that is the permissive feeding style. This one is a characteristic that the house becomes a restaurant menu. So everybody eats what they want to eat, and when we sit together, there's different plates, and we're all eating something different in the table. Also, there's constant feeding because the child will be the one who defines when and at what time they're gonna eat. So they can be constant feeding that, for example, at 8 they had a cracker, and at 9 they had a piece of cheese, and at 10 they had a fruit. So there's constant feeding because the child is the one that is deciding when and at what hour to eat. So what are consequences when we use this feeding style? There's a high response to appetite, and there's low monitoring and little structure at the meal times. There are high intakes of foods that are high in fat and sugar, because if the child is the one that is deciding what to eat or what snack to eat, they usually are going to try to eat these kinds of foods, the ones that are high in fat and in sugar. Also, there's a low intake of whole grains in children that are under 5 years old. There's a low nutrient density in the diet, and children that are in preschool can have a high BMA. What are some characteristics of this permissive style? Parents are full-time cooks at home. So if you don't want to eat this, you can eat this. What do you want me to prepare for you? So we're going to prepare different plates in order to the child to be happy and to actually eat something. An alternative meal is prepared when the child refuses what it's offered. So for example, well, today we're gonna eat broccoli and chicken and rice, and the child will not eat that, so we're gonna prepare something different for him. And the child will decide what and when to eat. No, I don't want to eat the chicken and the rice and the broccoli. I want to eat cereal with. So he's going to decide what to eat. At home, the child will decide how many snacks to make during the day, and that was the example that I was giving. That, for example, he wants to eat something at 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m., and he's going to decide what snacks to eat. The child will also decide what he's going to eat in his main meal. That's the example that I just gave. So what are the consequences if we are being permissive in our feeding style? There's going to be a low nutrient intake. The child will be less likely to eat new foods, and there's going to be a selectivity risk. So if we're having this feeding style, it's like we're walking towards as a child that is going to be more selective with the foods that he eats, and a possible feeding difficulty. And there's also the neglectful feeding style, that is when we have a lack of structure. There's no variety or healthy food in the house, and the responsibility is delegated and neglected. For example, I cannot give my child to something to eat because we always finish fighting, or for some reason we delegate the responsibility of feeding the child to another person, but we forget about asking how the meal went, or how did the child ate. So we just delegate and neglect this responsibility. So the parents will fail to recognize the hunger and satiety that the children will have, and they're going to create an emotional insecurity. The child does not know if he will receive snacks, or if they will be or if we were going to prepare foods that he likes. There's a risk in double that having weight problems. We can have children with an underweight, or also children with overweight, and there's going to be a low intake of nutrient rich foods. So we spoke about the 3 feeding styles, and now we're going to talk about the 4th feeding style, that is the one that we would like to go forward, because this is the proactive feeding style. This is where parents are going to respond to the appetite and the nutritional requirements that the child has. We're going to offer options, but with limits. We're going to make food times predictable for the child, because the child in this stage, they need predictability. They need to have the routine, that all of the routines very well established, and the child is going to feed him based on his appetite. What are the benefits of this feeding style? The nutritional status of the healthy child, where he's going to be able to eat more fruits and vegetables. He's going to be a more active child, and he's going to manage to differentiate the between eating because of hunger or because of anxiety. And this is the trust model that we would like to establish in the house. The parents are going to define, or the responsibility of the parents are: what are we going to offer, where are we going to eat, and at what time are we going to eat. So it is our responsibility in the what to offer a plate that it has all of the nutrients that this main meal needs. For example, in a lunch, we're going to offer a vegetable, a protein, a carbohydrate, because we're going to offer variety. Also, we're going to offer these meals in a place that is secure to eat, and also in a place that is destined to eat. For example, in the dining room, or in the because if we start to offer foods, for example, in the TV room or in the game room, those are places that the child has more distraction, and those are places that are dedicated to do other activities. We have to destine a place in the house where we only eat. And also the time. We are the ones who determine at what time do we eat. The children in preschool will need 5 meals at the day, and we are going to determine at what hour those meals we're going to serve. There are 3 main meals that are the breakfast, the lunch, and the dinner, and 2 snacks during the day. 1 snack in the morning and 1 other snack in the afternoon. What is important is that we need to establish that between these meals, there has to be a lapse of time that from 2.5 hours to 3 hours, where the child is not eating anything or drinking anything that is not water. Because we need to promote that the child gets to the other main meal, for example, from the morning snack to the lunch, that he gets to the lunch with appetite. If he's having a constant feeding that we talked before, the child is gonna get to the lunch and he's really not that hungry. So he won't be interested in trying new foods or eating what we're serving him, because he's satisfied. And what is the responsibility in this trust model that the child has? How much I'm gonna eat, for example, or what are we gonna eat of what they're offering? Continuing with the example of the broccoli, rice, and chicken. The child is gonna decide, okay, from this that my parents serve, I'm gonna eat half the broccoli, I'm not gonna eat the rice, and I'm gonna eat the chicken. He's gonna decide that. We cannot interfere in this decision and we're not gonna force him to eat everything like we talk in the authoritarian feeding style. We're gonna offer variety, and he's gonna decide, the child is gonna decide what to eat from what we are offering. For example, if we serve a vegetable, that the child will tell us, no, I don't eat vegetables. Why are you serving me some of these vegetables? So our answer can be something like, we're serving you the vegetables because they're good for you, because they're gonna make you grow stronger. And look, everyone in the table is eating vegetables, so we serve you. If you don't want to eat it, you don't have to eat it, but we're gonna serve you because those are foods that your body needs. So we explain why are we serving, but we're not forcing him to eat them. So in a proactive feeding style, we have to have structure. We have to establish some limits, for example, the ones that we just spoke: what, where, and the time that we eat. And we can also have some food rules in the house. For example, you can ask before you grab something from the pantry. So, mom or dad, I'm hungry. Can I eat a cookie or can I eat something from the pantry? And we can decide together. We can negotiate the eating of caloric snacks that we all know that children like. For example, leaving them to when we have a party or a special event, or now if we go to our grandmother's house, or if we have something like out of our routine, we can have these caloric snacks. So the parent will guide. The parent has control in this guide, but the parent does not control. We can offer also from 2 to 3 options for the child to choose, so the child can feel that he has also a little bit of control. For example, if we're going to offer vegetables, if we ask, do you want to eat vegetables today? The immediate answer will be no. Or if we ask, what vegetable do you like for today? There's like a lot of options, and that's only going to disturb the child in not knowing even what to answer. But if we offer him 2 options for him to choose, it's differently. For example, would you like today carrots or broccoli for dinner? So we're offering options. We're letting the child has to have a little bit of control in what he's eating, but we're offering options from a same food group. For example, now the one that I just gave, it's vegetables, but if we're not gonna ask him, would you like broccoli or a glass of milk, for example, because those are 2 foods from different food groups. We're gonna have the option in a same food group, so it could be easier for the child to decide. We're gonna promote the family meals. Now that the children are more at home and they're spending all of their time at home, we can try to use this time in a positive way, and trying to have more family meals that maybe before we couldn't have. At least one main meal a day where we are all eating at the same time. We're gonna try to maintain the meals and the sleep schedules that are very, very important, and they need this structure even more. I think they need it more now that they are in the house all day long. We're gonna establish some of the duration of the food meals. For example, a main meal should not last more than 30 minutes. Though more than 30 minutes is the child will maybe he doesn't want to be there. He wants to go another, because he lost his concentration in the food, and we're like making him stay, like, one more spoon please, or a little bit more, or try to eat, and it doesn't work once we pass the 30 minutes. So if 30 minutes after he's not eating, and he said that and he's saying that he doesn't want to eat more, we're going to respect that, and we're going to wait for the next food meal or the next meal time to offer him some food. Also, what we model, it's very, very important. So our parental nutrition, what we are eating and how much physical activity we have, or our patterns in physical activity, have a significant influence on the consumption of fruits and vegetables, junk food, and sedentary lives of preschool and school children. So if we're not physical active, we can't pretend them to be. If we don't eat fruits and vegetables, we can't pretend them to eat them as well. So we have to be a role model in eating a variety of food and practicing physical activity. What should we model? For example, we try not to skip any meal times. We can make sure that we also have the food, the 5 times a meal during the day. We can model that our main meal has protein, has carbohydrate, has vegetable, the same that we're serving to the child. We are eating the same. we can consume vegetables, at least 2 colors at lunch and 2 other colors at dinner, so they can see that we eat a lot of colors in our foods. We consume water and little juice. We consume few sweets, and we try to spend less than an hour in front of screens. So what we're gonna model is where they are going to learn. The ability of food at home is what is going to shape the taste, the preferences, and the habits of the children. So if we have caloric foods that they have difficult access, maybe they're not gonna ask for them. If they open the pantry and there's a lot of caloric foods at their disposal, well, they're gonna want them. But if they have a difficult access, or we just don't buy so much and we have more foods that we're going to have more accessible, like for example fruits and vegetables that are chopped, that are ready to eat in the refrigerator, in the table, in the bowls. So it's going to be easier for them to open the refrigerator, the pantry, and see healthy foods at their disposal than other caloric foods that maybe they don't really need in all the nutrients. They're not offering enough nutrients. We're also going to promote the autonomy, that is the structure that is provided to the child, the internal motivation that they need to make healthy decisions in his food, whether the parent is around or not. So we're going to offer nutritional education. We're gonna try to teach them why these foods are important, why we're trying them to try new foods, for example, fruits or vegetables. We're going to involve them in the preparation of foods, in the elaborating a menu together for the house. We're going to involve them in the nutrition. We're going to empower them too, and we're gonna next see some examples of how we can empower our children. And we're also going to negotiate with them, because they need this negotiation so they can also feel that they have a little bit of control in their food. Don't forget this, in this screen we're going to see like some examples of how to express ourselves when we're talking to our children about nutrition. And don't forget to try what's on your plate. You're capable. Trying new things is fun. You're capable of trying new foods. You're very smart and capable of making healthy food selections. So we motivate, we empower that child. And this desired behavior should be positively reinforced. For example, no, this is the screen where it's the table where it says no. It's, if we're going to tell them that you're very brave because you tried the food, that child can assume that if he doesn't try the food, he's not brave. So we need to express ourselves in a different manner. For example, I am happy that you tried. It's an act of courage. So we're not telling them that they're brave or not if they tried or not the food, but if they did try it, we can reinforce that it was an act of courage, that they will be able to try that food. Or another no example is, you're so good because you lost weight, because it also can make the child feel that they're not good if they don't lose the weight. And we're not trying them to focus in the weight, we're trying them to focus in nutrition and health, that is the important. Or another example that we can say, and it can empower them or they can be positively reinforced, is, I'm very proud and happy that you're striving to be healthier, that you're trying to be healthier. So fruits and vegetables are the two groups that can be more challenging to eat in most of preschool children, which is why we must look for different ways to offer them and motivate their consumption. So I made this screen where I put together some of the pictures of how can we introduce fruits in a different way and motivate it to eat this, and motivate the child to eat these foods For example, by preparing smoothies or by presenting the fruit in a funny way, like it's gonna be an ice cream, but but we're offering some, different kinds of fruit. Or we can froze yogurt with fruits, and we can eat it like an ice cream, or we can make an ice cream out of frozen fruits. So we can offer them in different ways with different other flavors. For example, this is a banana with some cinnamon. So we can include peanut butter or almond butter that it really tastes very, very good with some fruit. So we can make different approaches of how they're going to eat the food. Maybe they don't like the banana, the whole banana, but they like the ice cream banana. So we can try to encourage them to eat and to try new foods and new flavors with these food groups that are like the most challenging. And with the vegetables, it's a little bit the same, to try to offer them like in a crunchy way. For example, this broccoli bites, that they're a little bit crunchier. How we present the vegetable is very important. That is actually in the preschool stage, that they need to see they're very visual, so they need to see something fun in their plate, or something that motivates them to eat or to try new foods. And so what I'm trying here is to motivate the parents to try to serve new foods, new presentations, and motivate them to try them and to eat them. In this photo, I'm with my two kids, and cooking has definitely been an activity that we have all enjoyed in this quarantine. I want to, to thank you for joining me today, and I hope that what we discussed has been of great benefit to all of you. We remain at your disposal, and if you want, you can follow us in our social media. I just established there all of the information of Facebook, Instagram, our webpage, and our phone in the clinic that we work.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you so much, Marisol, to share your knowledge about this important topic. It is going to be very helpful, and especially during this time.